but hey, everything's a grind. This is not easy. But if you enjoy the game, then it's all good.
What's going on, guys? Welcome to the Creating Wealth Podcast, where I, Kyle, from Kyle Curtin Real Estate, interview local top dogs in the real estate investing, wealth building, and personal finance industries. Let's build together. What's up, guys? This week's guest on the podcast is an absolutely awesome local real estate investor and investor-focused agent. Mike shares a ton of gold in here, and we got to chat about a bunch of different aspects of growing your portfolio, growing as an investor, delegating versus doing work yourself, and so much more. Mike is a great guy doing really big things, and I can't wait for you to hear this episode. Just a quick note, my connection was being a little bit choppy during the call, and some points the audio kind of fades in and out a little bit. I do apologize, but fortunately most of the episode was very, very smooth, and it's all good. I hope you enjoy, and let's jump right into the episode. What's up, guys? Welcome to episode 95 of the Creating Wealth Podcast. Today, we have the great pleasure of chatting with Mike Wetherbee, an awesome local real estate investor and real estate agent at Cameron Real Estate Group. What's going on, Mike? How are you, my friend? I'm very excited to have you on.
Thanks for pulling me on. It's nice to have other investors out here sharing their knowledge, sharing their story within, and glad you invited me to tell you a little bit about my story.
Thank you so much, man. I'm super excited to to kind of jump into it, and to kind of transition right in, tell us a little bit about how you got into real estate, like kind of your humble beginnings, your superhero backstory, if you will.
I think I was old when I wanted to buy my first property, and I didn't have any background in real estate or anything like that. And didn't have any parents pushing me to buy my multifamilies or anything at the time, but I just wanted to get into a multifamily to rent one unit and live in the other one. So that was kind of like, once I bought that, I didn't even know I was buying when the market was a little bit down. It was in 2008 when it was pretty low. So I kind of lucked out. I bought a 2-family. It was a short sale in Woburn, and my wife and I, well, she was a girlfriend at the time. We lived in one of the units and rented the other one. And, then we moved down to the first floor after we started expanding a little. We had our first child. And, when I lived there a little bit, I'm like, wow, I wonder if I could probably do this again. So I did a lot of research in regards to certain kind of loans. And I ended up buying a second property, which was a 4-family in Lowell. After that, I started thinking, okay, well, find more deals. So, what better is not to become a real estate agent myself? So, that kind of gave me the opportunity to kind of dive in, and make the networking connections to, further my knowledge. You got to start somewhere, I always say, and it makes pretty good sense to be in that field. So you're a front runner to some of the deals.
100%, man. Yeah, no, I totally agree. So for that first 2-family, did you use FHA or?
So I used FHA for the first 2-family, and I got such a decent deal on it. At that time, I was running a small painting company, and we were working for some people who flipped houses, me and my partner at the time. And these were the 2 guys that did not seem right, but they were making great money. And I'm like, how can I get into this flipping business? So just from starting to talk to people more about real estate, my value of the property went up after the first year, and I was able to pull a line off of the house. And I said, okay, here's my down payment for the first flip. So what I did was I started using the line to put the down payment, and then I get the rehab loan. And then I started flipping houses. So what I would do is I'd flip a few of them, take that capital, pay off the line, and then I'd have money to buy another investment property. So as I did that, I started expanding the portfolio a little bit more. And that first two family was my vehicle and, to getting into business. And that's why I try to harp and push anyone just thinking about doing it that's hesitating. Just do it. I mean, it's scary and, it's very overwhelming if this, if that, but, it's definitely the number one success to getting to some kind of financial freedom.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, man. And like the ability to leverage equity in your property, especially to keep using that for investments, is absolutely unreal. It's like the craziest thing in the world.
Really, sometimes it doesn't seem real to know values went up so much, and you paid down or you raised your rents to create a better cap rate so you could get a better refi cash out. So that became that first multifamily and flipping became the vehicle to me kind of taking off in the career of real estate. So once I had 6 units under the belt with the 4 and the 2, I was like, okay, so I have all the equity in this 2 family right now. What if I sold this? Could I buy something bigger? And, as you network and meet people, then came in the 1031 exchange. Now that's like my best friend. So, to sell the 2 family and buy 15 units in Lowell near the college campus. So that was a monstrosity cash flow exchange, which kind of really geared me up a little bit more to just keep going. Wow, this is amazing. So that was my big play. And that's actually where I'm sitting right now. So one of the 6 units had an office on the first floor, and that's kind of my office now. And yeah, man, it just kept spiraling, and you get obsessed with it. Hey, I always say be obsessed with the right things in life. Because if you're obsessed with the right things, then good things are going to happen.
Yeah. I love that, man. 100%. That's like
Yep.
the craziest thing in the world. Like even to your point, man. Like I bought my 3 family in December of last year for like the appraised value, and I got a letter in the mail from my mortgage company, and it was like, oh, like you're pre-qualified for like a home equity line, and like it was in the back of my head. I'm like, oh, like yeah, eventually like that equity's gonna build, and like it's gonna take time or whatever. Like I'm not gonna be able to touch it now. But literally, like, oh, I don't even know. It might be like seven months later or something like that. There's like 70 to 80,000 of equity in the property, and like my ears are already like going nuts. I'm like, oh my goodness, like it's burning a hole in my pocket. You know what I mean? It's crazy, man.
Yeah, you can do. It really is. It gets addictive, and agent that you're really, you really trust and rely, kind of put you ahead and kind of, exactly what's going on in the market. So like as soon as I start selling for X, okay, this is my opportunity to take money out while I can.
Yeah.
So I put up and it just it couldn't have been better. So I mean, so let me just I became an agent at Keller Williams for a little bit, and like I said, I was flipping to Tom Caffarella, he runs Cameron Real Estate Group, which I'm an agent there right now. So he inspired me because I was post things about him flipping 100 houses a year, and so I decided to join with him. Not only did that open my eyes to go on appointments and sit down with sellers, because he runs such a big marketing campaign that when he first started, the agents would go on his appointments, and he would have an offer in hand, and so you would be negotiating with the seller with an offer from him. So what that did was kind of scrub me for my own appointments down the road, to learn how to lock those ones as well. So his group and him was kind of like somewhat of a mentor for me, and I feel like that anyone who's aspiring to get to a certain place needs to have some kind of mentor, someone that's got like, 7 or 8 steps on them that they can always just kind of figure it out. And then it's good to pass the knowledge down, because everyone's like, how did you do that? And you're just going to take one step in front of the other. And then eventually you get somewhere. And then once you get to that spot, you want to keep advancing. So there's no end. But it's definitely an exciting run.
That's huge, man. Yeah, I definitely agree. Like I feel like that, especially, just kind of enjoying the journey, because exactly, like, there isn't really going to be an end to it for most people. You know what I mean? So like, just kind of, riding the wave up and, just kind of enjoying it as it comes is huge.
Yeah, exactly. And then passive income. I mean, who doesn't like passive income? So like when I sold the 2-family and I bought the 15 units in Lowell, started having some good income coming in. And not to mention, in that time, I actually was working for the Department of Corrections as well, and kind of doing the real estate. So I worked for 12 years in Concord, Department of Corrections. And I actually just resigned about 6 months ago. Even though I had a pension on the table, even though I had like, my benefits, and everyone was like, you're crazy, but like, this is what I like doing. So, I mean, like, you only live once. You really do. So, I mean, it's important to do what you want. And then the real estate vehicle gave me the opportunity to do it.
I love that, man. That's absolutely awesome.
Yeah, that was tough. That was tough to leave. Not tough to leave because I liked it, because it's not really an enjoyable job. But even when I worked there, like, I was always doing real estate, like, on the side, like trying to, close a deal or something. So it was just like a matter of time before if I get one more property, then I'm out of here, So, yeah, exciting, man. It's just like someone else's story that they left their 9-to-5 job and they're doing awesome in real estate. But you know what? It's true. It can happen, but you need to have a plan in place, and you need to execute. If you don't execute, then nothing's going to happen.
Yeah. That's awesome, man. I can just imagine kind of like I guess like the comments and stuff from like your coworkers, and like, everybody was thinking you were like absolutely crazy, but like I respect that so much, man. Like, that's the coolest thing in the world, to like literally just go all in on you. And I totally get what you're saying about just kind of being in that real estate frame of mind, like, all the time. Like, that's kind of how I am at my day job too. Is like, when I wake up, like, the real estate's already going, and it's like, oh crap, like, you actually have to go and do this and like make money today. And I'm like,
yeah. Well, the thing is, like, and I would have never left if I didn't have, like, things in place already. So yeah, you're at your job right now, and you're kind of, you're figuring it out, and eventually, if you keep growing, you're going to want to take fully control of your life. Maybe you want to be a professional podcaster too. You want to do what you want to do, right?
Yeah.
So it just allowed me. I mean, I don't have to work weekends anymore. I bought a lake house up in Maine because of the passive income coming through the rental properties. So it just opened my eyes up, man. And now it's just like, I want to keep networking. I want to, join certain mentor programs to figure out, okay, so what's next? Because there's always a next.
That's true. That's totally.
Yep. I mean, the flipping aspect's good too, because like I said before, there's only so much equity you can pull out of the property. So if you can flip a few and, do some 1031s into other properties is pretty key too. I partnered up. You might know Jason Goldfarb. He works at Cameron Real Estate too. He's been an agent for like almost 20 years. So like 3 years ago, we decided to, try a mailing campaign called REI Vault, which was kind of like an all-in-one thing. You send a postcard out. There's a number on it. They call in. So it's kind of, just gets it out there a lot. So we ended up, scoring a lot of deals that way. But hey, everything's a grind. This is not easy. But if you enjoy the game, then it's all good. You don't mind doing it.
Yep. I definitely agree, man. You know what I mean? It's crazy, How so when it comes to like do you guys typically target like areas around like Massachusetts for like flipping and stuff, like kind of on more of like a local like kind of level, or?
Yeah, so realistically, we target. So he's in the Revere area, and I'm in the Lowell area. So we'll blanket certain areas, high equity or vacant houses. I mean, it's a very common thing in the follow up game. How you send it out and how you keep track of all your leads. And then then it becomes a confident thing when you sit down with the sellers. So one good thing about us is that, we have the ability to sell properties to resort is, we sit down with the seller. We can't buy it because everyone wants, sometimes it works that we buy it, but most of the time we end up listing the property. So at least we get some kind of commission that we can pay for our market. So it's kind of it's nice. It's definitely a big tool. We do get some angry people sometimes, but I mean that's just part of the game too.
I hear you, man. Yeah, I cold called for a little bit, and like I got into it. I should get back into it to kind of start things up again in the near future, but. Yeah, literally, like some of the people that answer the phone, man, they're very unique. I guess we could call it that.
Yeah, the cold callings, it's tough. Like at least that when you mail somebody and they do call and selling a little bit, or they're just pissed they want to be taken off the list. But those are the ones. But it's expensive to do. If we spend like $7,000 to $10,000, we'll probably get one deal 50 to 75,000.
Yeah.
So where's your return on investment there?
Mm-hmm.
But it's an uneasy feeling to spend that money, and then you're on your $5,000 and you still haven't gotten a deal.
Yeah.
I'm running out here. Just gotta. Sometimes you're at the 1 yard line. Just gotta punch it in.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I totally hear you.
But
man.
It seems like you're pretty happy doing well, right?
I am. It has been not to make this about me. I'll keep it super short. But like right now, it's been a little bit of a learning curve. So I had one of my tenants leave. I have a 3-family in Leominster, and that I own or occupy. And I had one of my tenants leave, which was really good because, I mean, like, they were great and everything. And like, they found a house and it was actually really sweet. Like they had kids and I don't know, just like, it was cool. It was heartfelt, but it was even cooler for me because they lived in a 2-bedroom unit, which I'm actually in right now. And when I closed, I occupied the 3-bedroom unit. So I'm kind of going through that process right now of, I brought like most of the furniture over here and like finally kind of moved in almost, quote unquote. And just having some work done to unit 3 and everything. But
yeah,
it's been interesting, man. You know what I mean? I'm like, oh crap, like I have like 2/3 of my mortgage right now, and like plus the costs for like the little rehab type of thing. And I'm like, all right, like let's. I'm like, I gotta really get it together like ASAP. You know what I mean? And
right. Beginning is tough because I mean most of the time no one has a lot of capital to do so they want to do the work themselves a little bit, and that's totally fine. I guess towards your end game would not to be doing much of the work and just be managing it, but in the beginning, I mean you got to slap some paint on or have your friend move some furniture, and you need some help. But once you get over a couple humps, you're gonna be setting things up a little bit differently. Because when I first started flipping, like I was doing the demo and I was still painting too. I haven't picked up. I mean, sometimes I'll take the trash out of the property and stuff like that. Towards the end, but like I don't do any of the work anymore. Everything gets subbed off. But it took me a while to get to that point. I used to do stuff myself because, like you said, you had a you get one unit empty and then trying to fix the other unit, I mean, but sometimes if you have a little bit extra, sometimes time's important too. Yeah. So, I mean, getting it little bit quicker, getting it rented and just giving yourself some peace of mind is good too. But everyone's got different situations. That's why I had to selling houses. That helped me have money to do, hire someone to do it versus, trying to do everything myself in the beginning anyway.
100%.
Yeah, I know. I hear you. I was right where you were. I don't know, I'm 38 now. So, what is that? 14 years ago, I started doing it. So, I mean, in 14 years, I think it's 50 units, all pretty close in the same area. But I hear stories about people who have, 1,000 units. And I'm like, 50 sounds good. But a lot of people do the syndication deals too, which I haven't done yet, which I've been floating around a little bit with that. But it's just sometimes I like being the owner to the property. But a lot of people like the syndication too. It gets you involved in a lot more units. And there's some decent exit plans too. That's probably for a different episode, but but yeah, man, you're on the right track. You really are. I mean, it's a nerve-wracking, but then very exhilarating feeling when you say you do your first exchange and you sell the 3 to buy a 6, and it's it's pretty cool. Yeah.
And, that's the thing that I love about real estate. Just kind of starting to see it firsthand. Just kind of I guess having it be less of a theory and more of an actual actionable type of thing is it's the coolest thing in the world. I tell people all the time, so it took, which I have no problem being transparent on this. So when I started the job that I'm at right now, it took me 2 years to save up 50-ish grand in cash. Literally saving super diligently, marking down all my expenses, spreadsheet, the whole 9 yards. And literally, man, once I got that pre-qual letter from Citizens Bank saying that there's a bunch of equity in the property, it almost kind of hit me right there. And literally, man, I'm itching to get this unit fixed up, get it rented out so I can get things level and then be able to leverage the equity and then jump into the next direction. I'm this is the craziest thing in the world. I'm it took me a couple years of saving all this money, in my eyes, that's significant, for me or whatever. And all of a sudden, oh, this thing's actually worth, 70 to 80,000 more than, what you bought it for, minus your mortgage balance. And it's insane, I'm wow.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So in order to save from a 95 yard to save that kind of money it's extremely hard. Obviously you budget the heck out of everything. But then you buy a property and you do a little bit of work to it. You buy it somewhat right. Obviously, it's really hard to get the perfect deal. And even if you pay retail, you have a plan. But the equity is just crazy. I mean, eventually you're going to be, looking at your properties, what they're worth and what you owe, and just not even really believing that it's true. You know what I mean? That's how you come. That's one of the main reasons you become a millionaire. And it's not even the fact you can say you're a millionaire. It's the fact that you created, and you're responsible for all the income you have coming in. And it's once you eventually, if you do yet, but it gives them a better life too.
Yeah.
And then that's another reason that drives you to keep doing stuff, because you want to travel. So, I mean, it's just, like I said, it's a chase that's never going to end. Mm-hmm. It's like chasing a hot broad. It's going to keep working.
Amen, man. I hear you. Yeah. So, Mike,
I mean, one of the first flip, I was so nervous. And then one guy said, this guy did a few flips. He goes, hey, he said, exactly, I recorded it, but he said, it's about being on the bench or in the games. Then you're never going to have an opportunity to shoot. You're never going to have an opportunity to get a touchdown. Just get the hell in the game and play. And then learn from your bumps and bruises, you're wrong. Your interceptions. I always relate to sports because, it's like a competitive thing. Like once you get going, you get into it. So I mean, that's my relation to that. Just to get in there and do it. Everyone says that. Everyone's like, oh yeah, I should buy a 2-family, or I want to buy a 3-family. But then figure out a way to do it.
Yeah.
Right.
That drives me nuts, man. And like, especially hearing it from like I'll tell some of my buddies about, just kind of like the experience and like, like the mortgage pay down, the cash flow, appreciation, like just like the whole theory of it all, right? I'm like, even if you don't want to be a real estate investor, I'm like, just try one of these things. I'm like, I'll manage it for you. Like, you don't have to worry about a thing. Like, I just want you to like get a taste of this, like just to see if you like it. And like, that's what I hear all the time, man, is like, oh, I should do that. Oh, think about that. And nothing happens. I'm like, all right.
Yeah.
I'm like, let me know if you actually want to like do anything.
No, well, it is hard because, I mean, some people do have some bad experiences, probably like with like the first property they bought. They had like, the nightmare tenants. Like, I'm never doing this again. Like, it wrecked my life. I've heard that before. I mean, people think I'm crazy for what I have now. But, you just find a way to work it out. I mean, I've had evictions. I've had things that, but I stuck with it because I knew if I did, I was going to see some light eventually.
Totally, man. And like, I feel like that's something too, is like, as much as we're kind of taking on, like a lot of the glamorous, type of stuff that is kind of like, I don't know, people kind of think about, on like Biggerpockets or like podcasts, like some of that stuff. And like the generational wealth and like, all this crazy stuff. Like, I feel like kind of the point, at least what it was for me, after a couple kind of crappy things that happened in the wintertime, and problems I had to take care of. But like, I feel like something that kind of hit me then was like, as much as we're taking on all of like the really positive, aspects of real estate investing and everything, like if you're able to accept that, like you're going to have to take on the negative things as well. And like, oh, things are going to break and like, you're going to have to deal with evictions. Like if you're cool with that, then like, all right, like, like right. You'll get through it. You'll systematize it. Like
it's hard to think about that when you're first starting, like, because I mean, people are extremely resistant to those kind of problems, as confrontations. And I mean, I was in the beginning too, but like I said, if you just make the move to do it and you're in it, you're gonna figure it out, right? If you have trouble tenants and you own the building, I mean, you're gonna have to take care of it. It's just part of the game.
Yep.
But I mean, I love it, man. I can't say anything. I mean, I feel like I want to teach anyone that's thinking about to do it, just to explain how it can be done. And hopefully they'll take some action. Action's the most important thing.
Totally, man. I totally agree. And it really is just an incredible thing, man, And like, I don't know. I forget where I was going with that. But yeah. So, Mike, what is your best piece of advice to new investors that want to start and manage their rental portfolio? Or just kind of like get started in the game, like while we're on that kind of vein.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it depends. Like, if you have a full-time job, like, sometimes managing your own property is a little bit harder. When I first started, once I got like my third property, I tried a property manager. I wasn't too fond of it in the beginning because I still was I wanted the control of, I just didn't think they were doing it right and the turnovers weren't going to be enough. I still need to break away from that and kind of just let it go a little bit. But as first starting out, I feel like if you buy like a 3 or a 4, I mean, you should be able to manage that one yourself because, then you could actually see how things are done. How everything works, how bills are all paid, how renting. Once you get a few under your belt and you have enough passive income that you can kind of explore to try a management company, then I think that's okay. I mean, if you just go directly to like a 50-unit building, then I'd say yes, you need it professionally. But if you want to start with a 2 or a 4 and live in one of the units. I mean, even if you didn't live in one of the units, I think that you should kind of feel what it's like to manage it, so you can actually, sometimes, because you have to manage the manager sometimes a little bit, even when it's managed. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
We don't want to have to do that, but I find myself in that predicament sometimes. But to answer your question fully, I would say investors first starting out, manage your own property. If it's 4 units or under, feel it, see if you want to keep doing it, and then go from there.
Yeah. I love that, man. I couldn't agree more. Like, just in the 7 or 8 months that I've had this place, like the lessons that I've learned from, kind of managing the building myself and like, just dealing with certain problems and stuff and finding contractors and like vetting contractors and like, I don't know. I feel like that, like, education in itself is so valuable, man. And like, to your point earlier, this was actually something that I wanted to say that I just remembered was like, if it's your building, like, exactly. Like if something happens, you're the only one that's like gonna have to deal with that. Like it's almost like you're kind of like held accountable.
Care the most about it, especially when you get a couple. Yeah, exactly. And like you said, you're building relationships with subcontractors that they become like, just send a message to in a lockbox to and said, hey, can you go take care of this? So I did my first flip. Like I'll send them the address, and the relationship you build with certain contractors are, obviously you're going to go through ones that just happens.
Yeah.
But you'll get a few that you'll feel good about it, that you're taking care of it. Should try to grow out of that, unless you want to build your own management team, and that's something down the road you want to do.
Definitely. And it's funny you say that about the lockbox, man, because even like being an agent, like when I first got this place, so there was a couple things in the wintertime, like I had to do 2 oil tanks that started leaking on me and a furnace in my unit. Not at exactly the same time, but in a pretty short amount of time, close to each other. And literally, like, it didn't even go through my head, like, when I was getting the tanks done. Because, of course, it was, like, a Sunday night, right? And it was, like, 20 degrees and, like, the whole 9 yards. It didn't even go through my head. I'm like, oh, now I got to call out of work tomorrow to let these contractors in to be able to get to the, whatever they had to get to. And, I called in the next day because I still hadn't, thought about it yet. And then I forget what it was, but like I was like, oh crap, like my boss is gonna be like pissed. I'm like, yeah, I have this problem, but like you gotta be in work or whatever. And I don't know what it was, man, but like something crossed my mind. I'm like, why don't you just use a lockbox? Like go to Home Depot, buy a lockbox for $30. And even like that lesson in itself, man, like I don't know, like it sounds dumb because I didn't realize it for a while, like especially being an agent and like we use them all the time. Yeah. But like in the moment, like it just wasn't going through my head. I'm like, oh, okay, that makes sense. I can do that too.
Yeah. Hey, you know what? Sometimes those small little things that you get tunnel vision. So
yeah,
obviously it makes things a lot easier, especially with how long have you been at your current job that you're at right now?
It's going to be 3 years next month.
Okay. All right. I mean, you're just getting started with the real estate. So, I mean, stay focused on the job, but always be exploring, trying to figure out your next move. I mean, to me, it's just like a chess game. You're just moving pieces, trying to find a way to get more or find a way to partner with someone else who wants to do more with you.
100%, man. I totally agree.
Yep. Yeah,
So, Mike, I got one more question for you, my man. And that is, do you read? And what is your favorite business, investing, or real estate book that you would recommend to anyone? It could be like a podcast or like anything. Anything you consume.
You know what? I don't. I should read a lot more. And people read books. I mean, there are books to get you started. Like there's, multi-family investing books like for beginners. Rich Dad Poor Dad was something that I started. I read, and I just like, I think might have been like 19 or something. I'm like, okay, like passive income. Like was hard to put together in the beginning, but now it all makes sense. It's just to get your mind trained in that way. It's just like sometimes when you're a little bit too older, when you should have just looked at it a little bit early and got the big picture. I mean, it's never too late to get into it. You can get into it whenever, but obviously the younger you are, I mean, the more time goes by and equity goes up. So, but yeah, Rich Dad Poor Dad was a good one. I've always been an advocate of kind of like The Secret a little bit, kind of put stuff out there in the universe and, see it in your eyes happening. And actually, I actually take videos of myself, like when I was younger, my first flip, I'm sure you probably do too. You talk to yourself, right? Oh, you're like, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. It was 2 weeks ago, I went back 10 years to my first flip about me talking about flip and about what I was going to do. And then I looked at another video 3 years later that, okay, I want to have so many units by this time and I'm going to do X, Y, and Z to get there. And it's I put it out there, and every time I say I'm going to do something, it happens. So I think it's almost like you're coaching yourself through it.
Yeah. That's the coolest thing in the world, man. That's something that really fascinates me is just documenting the journey. And it's something that I have to get better at. Cause usually I just want to jump into something. I'm whatever. I don't need a video, no, nothing. I just want to get it done, but to be able to step back and have something like that, I'm going to start looking for a 6 unit or something. And I want to have it by a year from now or 2 years from now or whatever the case is, and then just.
Well, what are you going to do to get there? You have to map out some kind of way that you're going to get there, whether it's cold calling or getting buddy with someone who's looking for you. Yeah. But yeah, exactly, man. I think it's awesome. I mean, obviously beginning when you first start, doing stuff like that, you might do more videos and stuff just because it's this is cool, it's something new. But I mean, putting it out there was just, it's crazy. I was looking at it the other day. I'm like, wow, look at all this stuff. And it's, and it's even better when you're further along than you said you were going to be. So then you just push all the goals up further.
That's cool.
But write it down. I mean, everyone says that. Write it down somewhere. You know what I mean? Write it down on a blackboard or a whiteboard or anything, and where you want to be and what you need to do to get there. And just look at it once in a while and be like, oh shit, I gotta call Eddie today because that's my opportunity to do something. And if you feel like you might have an opportunity, don't pass it up because someone else is gonna take it.
100%. I totally agree, man.
Yep.
Wow. So Mike, we're on social media and stuff.
Good
Can
stuff.
you? I'll tag everything below.
Yeah. I mean, you can send the podcast.
Oh, yeah. I don't know. It might have cut out a little bit there, but so we're on social media and stuff. Can you be found? So we're on.
Social Facebook. All I have is Facebook. I don't have no YouTube videos. I mean, that's something I got to work on just in general getting. But I feel like being an agent wise, in the past. I mean, people feel like they know you. Important to put it out there when you're selling a building or you're selling some reviews that you've got. It's important for they really do. Anytime I hire somebody that I don't know, I want to see what they did. So you gotta put. Yeah, I gotta work on that. All I got is Facebook, buddy. That's it.
That's quite all right, man. No, I love it. Facebook's a really good one in itself, though.
Is it Instagram? What Instagram?
Yeah. I'm mostly on Instagram, but the thing is a lot more people, I guess in our kind of network, I feel like are more on Facebook. So I'm trying to gravitate more towards Facebook, dominantly and less on Instagram, but it's kind of Yeah. I got to work on it myself.
Yeah. I feel like if you're trying to push content out there, or you're trying to sell certain things that you want people to follow you more, I think maybe Instagram might be better because people are following you, so that like just brings them more. Facebook's a little more like, I see Mike's family. Oh, that's so nice. Instagram's kind of more, I'm following you because I like what you're doing and I'm interested in following you.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you can still do that on Facebook, but from what I've seen on Instagram, it's a little bit more heavy on that. So,
Yeah.
but maybe I should. I'm not really selling anything in general. I mean, when real estate, you kind of just sell yourself. Yeah, but it comes with practice, and practice and confidence is the number one thing. We all know some days we feel like we can conquer the world, and those other days we don't really feel so good. We all have our ups and downs. You gotta battle right through it.
Yeah, I definitely agree.
Amen.
Man. Amen. Oh, thank you so much again, Mike. That was absolutely awesome, man. Oh my goodness. All right, guys, that concludes our Creating Wealth podcast episode for today. I want to thank every single person that has listened this far. It really means a lot to know that people can learn from me and with me as we build wealth together. Hopefully you can take home at least one thing from this podcast that will improve your life just a little bit. If you could, please check me out on social. That's at Kyle Curtin Real Estate on Instagram, Facebook, and I'm on Biggerpockets. Until next time, let's build together.